Hello, welcome to my channel, my Flosstube channel, the Brigham City Stitcher. I am Haley, and it's my first Flosstube. I'm really excited. I've been stitching for about a year now. It started in December. I got a cross-stitch kit for my nephew. He was seeing some sewing projects that my sister was doing for her daughter, and he got interested in sewing, so I got him a little sewing kit project on Amazon, and also a cross-stitch kit on Amazon for kids. Just very simple. It's the printed kind, and he wanted me to teach him, and as I'm teaching him, I'm like, oh yeah, this is fun. I like doing this. I had stitched when I was a little girl, maybe like 9 to 13 years old, and then I got really excited about it. And also about that time I had to switch gears with my crafting. I've always been really creative and crafty, and I used to primarily work in paper crafts, and I'll show you what I used to do. I used to make like junk journals and advent calendars and things like that, but I developed an injury, a crafting injury, who knew? But this is an altered book of Sense and Sensibility, and it's just a journal that has like flips and folds and tucks and pockets and just all these different kind of things in here. You move that and you just write everywhere in the book. And anyways, I used to sell my crafts at a consignment shop in town, but that was just so much stress. Honestly, it was too much stress for me, and so I'm kind of glad that I can't do that anymore. But this is one that didn't sell. It was $50. But yeah, this is what I used to do. Really fun stuff, actually, and I stitched that and I thought that was really fun. But yeah, I can't paper craft anymore because I sustained, I don't know, a neck injury, I suppose you could call it, because my head was down constantly working like this, and I got this headache right up in the back of my neck, right up into my skull, into my brain. And it was like a persistent headache for 2 weeks straight. And my mom was like, go to the chiropractor and see what's up. And he's like, he felt the muscles in my neck, and he's like, how are you like standing? How are you functioning right now? You must have an extremely high pain tolerance. And I was just like, it's what you do. You just carry on type thing. But yeah, he said, no more looking down. So I had to switch gears from paper crafting, and cross stitch seemed like the right move, and you know, I can hold it up at eye level and stitch away. So that's kind of where I switched gears. A little about me. My name's Haley. I'm 38 years old. I live with one of my sisters. I have 5 sisters. I'm number 5 of 6 daughters. I was trying to think of how to word that. Number 5 of 6 daughters. So I live with the sister who's just older than me. She's got 5 kids, and I love living with them. They're my favorite people in the whole world. So I love it here, and I love being with her kids. I love them so much. I don't have any of my own. But yeah, let's see. I manage a UPS store, and we are gearing up for the busy season, and starting to get a little bit stressed out. It gets crazy. November to December, it gets crazy, and I'm getting a little stressed out. And when I get stressed out, I do impulsive things like start a floss tube or cut 15 inches off of my hair. I did that just like 4 days ago. I just chopped it all off. I do impulsive things when I get stressed. But yeah, and then one other thing I'd like to share with you about my personal life is that I like to do the Conquer virtual challenges. They're walking or running or biking or swimming challenges, and I just completed the 5 journeys, the 5 challenges of Lord of the Rings. It's a total of 660 miles. So I'm really excited about that. I'm waiting for my last medal to come in the mail. But in total, I finished 20 challenges. And I've got all my medals here. They're in a pile. This is the 3rd time I'm shooting this video, but let me show you. If you can grab them all. Here are all of my medals from walking. There are Lord of the Rings, there is Harry Potter, there are real places, such as the English Channel, Giza, the Jesus Trail, London, more Lord of the Rings, more Harry Potter. We've got Dublin. So yeah, 20 challenges. I love these things so much. They're so much fun. But anyways, on to WIP Parade, I guess. But let's start with my finishes. So, like I said, I started in December, and I wanted, after I helped my nephew start, I wanted to do a simple one just to get into the flow of cross stitching, and I had no clue what I was doing. I didn't even know Flosstube was a thing. I didn't know that, you know, people could teach you about fabrics and Ada and DMC and needle sizes, and I didn't know. So the first one I did is really bad, and I'm going to show you how bad it is and how much I didn't know when I first started. So I did for my nephew a hobbit hole. I'm trying not to get the glare on there, but you can see where I gridded it with an actual pen, so it doesn't wash off. And you can, and this is the framing. I did a great job on this, and I did it on 14 count Ada, and I did it 4/1. I had no clue what I was doing, and I was just like, why is this so difficult? Why does it keep knotting? Like, why is it? Anyways, 4/1. Yeah. And this back stitching is just, it's terrible. But that's the first thing I ever did. Besides when I was a kid, and I don't even remember what that stuff was. But I loved it. And I think all my stitches are going the same way. I think they are. But I mean, they're bad stitches. They're horrible stitches. So that's the first thing I ever completed. And I was like, I love this. I love cross stitching. And so I jumped in head first. The first thing I did was I went and I picked a chart off of Etsy. And it's my oldest WIP. And it's also a UFO. I don't know when it's going to get finished. It's Visit Argonath by CountryMagicStitch on Etsy, and it's stitched 4/1 on 14 count Ada, and that's how far I got. You can see my needle right there. I didn't even bother taking it out. I was so frustrated. So what I had done was I started down here, and it's 4/1, which I've said several times now. Anyways, and then I did the clouds 4/1, and then I was like, you know, I want the sky and the clouds to be different, so I'll do 2/1 on this. I didn't even know what 2/1 was at the time. I was just like, I'll just make it thinner so it's not as puffy, and it went so much smoother and faster and less like knotting and all that stuff. And then I realized you're not supposed to do 4/1. It's insane. But then I went back and I started doing the statue, and I had to do it 4/1 because the rest of it was done in 4/1. And I was like, well, can I do it in just 2/1? But like this is 4/1 and this is 4/1 and this over here is 4/1. So I'm like, I just kind of stopped because I got really discouraged. Because I was like, can I just go straight into 2/1? And even though half of him is 4, so I don't know what to do with this one. I don't know if I'm gonna finish it. I don't know. This was started in February, and I worked on it for a couple of months, and you can see exactly where I left off because I was so frustrated. So that's that one. I don't know what to do with it. Then my second finish is a Colonial Sampler. It's a counted cross stitch kit designed by Bangser for the Posy collection. I picked this up in Williamsburg. I went there in March for vacation, and I saw all their cross stitch kits a little pricey, but I've since learned that all cross stitch patterns and kits are pricey. But I picked this one up. I picked up 4 while I was there, and this is the first one I stitched and finished, and I love it so much. It was so much fun. I loved everything about it. And I just put it in a dollar store frame, but I love it. And it looks so good on our piano, and my sister loves it. And I did make a mistake in the trees, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. You'll just have to guess or figure it out. But it reminds me of my vacation to Colonial Williamsburg, and I love that. And then the next one I finished was this little Nativity. I think it was like $3 on Etsy. I don't know the designer or the seller's name, but I was going to do one for each advent calendar I made this year, but I finished this one and then I stopped. I did not want to make 8 more. I didn't want to do it. And then my next finish is the Jamestown Church in Jamestown, Virginia. I believe it's by Amy Mills. It was a kit I picked up in Jamestown, historic Jamestown, and I love this one too. I think it's beautiful. It again reminds me of my trip, and I love everything about it. I think it turned out so good. I was worried about this light brick color and this dark brick color, because the other brick color is those 2 threads mixed together. What is that called? I can't remember. But I was afraid it was going to be washed out, but you can tell exactly what it is and what it's supposed to be. And I just picked up this frame at a yard sale. So those are my finishes, and I guess now we'll get into my WIPs. Let's see. The first one is Visit Argonath, which I don't know if I'm going to finish. You guys tell me what you think I should do with it, because I don't know. I don't know if I can... who is it? It's the Comfort Stitcher? No, Comfort Stitching. She says there is no cross-stitch police, but there is police in my brain saying you have to follow the path. There are rules in cross-stitch, which is why I love it, and you have to follow those rules, so I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that one. But the next one I started is called Mini Fantasy Character Collection by NOTALOTUK. It's stitched 2/1 on 14 count Aida, and if I don't mention this, or everything is stitched with DMC floss unless it's a kit, and then it's on whatever they put in the kit and whatever floss or fabric they put in the kit. Otherwise, it's DMC and it's Aida, because that's all I buy. That's all I'm comfortable stitching on. I'm a timid stitcher, not adventurous yet. Haven't ventured into linen or Lugana or anything like that. So I don't have a finished picture, so I'll just show you the chart back here. I don't think you can get anything off of that. But it's Lord of the Rings again, and it's the characters. And I thought this would be a nice one because you could just pick one character at a time and stitch it up. And so that's what it looks like. And here's where I'm at. This one was started in February, and I just recently picked it up again because I'm learning a lot about what I like and what I don't like with stitching. And I thought I hated working in a hoop, but really what I hate is a wooden hoop. That's what I hate. I hate wooden hoops. They loosen too much. Don't like it. So I like nurge hoops, I believe is what they call, where they snap in. Really like that. And then I didn't know needle sizes. I didn't know. I was using a giant thick tapestry needle. If you saw the one in the Argonath, that's the kind of needle I was using. So I stopped working on this a couple months after I started, but I recently picked it back up after learning what I like, and I put it in an oval hoop. If you can see the indentation here where I'm working. And I made a goal for myself on this one that I would do at least one thread a night. So when I get into bed, instead of scrolling on Pinterest, I put a thread in. And so I'm making some good progress on this one now after putting it down for at least 6 months. So that's where I'm at on this one. And this is 14 count Ada. Then after that one, I started Floral Insect. So I took this one. I went on Etsy when I first started cross stitching, and I bought nearly every single pattern I loved. And this one I absolutely adored. But my eyes were bigger than my stomach, and having finished only one thing and then starting the characters and the Argonath, I thought, heck yeah, I can do this thing. This is the pattern. It's by Terezy Stitch Patterns, and it's called Floral Insect. And I thought I could stitch this sucker on vacation. I'm insane. It's 16.2 inches by 15.9 inches on a 14 count Ada. That's huge for a beginner. I don't know what I was thinking. I think I put it on a 16 count though. So I started it in Virginia and gridding the fabric. I didn't know how I liked gridding the fabric either. So this is a sewn grid, which takes just as long to sew the grid in as it does to do anything else. Oh, it's upside down. So here's where I'm at after starting this in March. So I gridded it all up, took it on vacation, and then this and this is what I did on vacation. And then I didn't touch it again because it's so much confetti and it's just so intricate that it was way too advanced for a beginner of just a few months. But then I just recently picked it back up last week, and I did one thread here and one thread here. And my goal for this is to put in at least one thread a month. So if I just try one thread a month, I think I can get through this in about, 10, 20 years or so. I don't know. Hopefully at some point, but I don't know if this is an 18 or a 16 count Ada. I don't know a lot about the fabrics and the counts and stuff, but it's fairly small. It's smaller than 14, that's for sure. So that was my third start. The next one is Primitive Months of the Year Village by NARAxStitchPatterns. Got this one on Etsy again, and I love this pattern. I thought this would be so much fun, and I was like, I'll just do the month I'm in. I'll just stitch the month I'm in, and it'll be so cute and easy, and they're so small and easy peasy. And I bought it in May, and I'll show you how far I got. This is stitched 2/1 on gridded 16 count Zweigart Ada. So there's where I got to in May. And when starting out, I just did May. So I learned something. You're supposed to stitch the fun bits first. I was like, I'll do the border and I'll fill in the grass and then I can do all the fun stuff. It's like, no, do the fun stuff first, because you're just going to do the border and this and you're going to stop. So I did learn something from this stitch, but then I didn't pick it back up again until this October. And that's where I got to there. And what I also learned from this is that the patterns can be wrong. So they had the next line, they had the next line starting at the 20 mark. And I'm like, that's not right. That can't be right. So I checked it out, and yes, it's completely wrong. And so I just moved it up myself. But it was supposed to be 3 squares, and I did 5, but I think it still looks good. So then, when I started in October, I stitched the fun bits first. I did the fence, and the house, and the tree with the falling leaves, and then the little sheep. And the pumpkins I did last, because I didn't think they looked very fun. Because they have 2 colors in there, and they got the back stitching. But then I also, once I got that done this month, I put in a couple of lines just to see where the other months will fit in, and if I did my math right on the counting where they all go. So anyways, and today is November 1st, so I did 1 thread in November before I went to work this morning. So hopefully I'll work on some of that tomorrow. But yeah, that is Primitive Months of the Year Village by NARAxStitchPatterns on Etsy. And I bought this Ada on Amazon, and I don't like the pre-gridded stuff because one of the lines of the grid is the grid. It confuses me. I have to remember which line is the 10 and which line isn't. Which line is the 10 and which line is the 1. And it confuses me a lot. But I still love stitching on it. It's tons of fun. Love that. Okay, my next WIP is another eyes too big for my stomach situation. Back in June, my sister got engaged, not the one I live with. My second oldest sister, she got engaged, and I thought I will do her a wedding sampler. I'm crazy. So she's getting married in August. I was like, yeah, I can totally finish it in 2 months. I got a Historical Sampler Company wedding sampler. This is it. It came in a kit. And I was like, oh, it's beautiful. She'll love it. And I'll do it for her wedding, and I'll get it done, and everything will be fine and dandy. Not even close. Not even close. So this is where I'm at. I stitched the top border first, and I thought it was so gorgeous, and I loved it. So then I did the side border. And by the time I got to the end of it and down over here, I was bored with the border. So I took my own advice and I started stitching the fun bits. I went into the center and I started doing the tree, and then that border in the middle, and then I'm going to bring this in because it's the most beautiful tree I've ever seen. Look at that. The colors, I hope they're showing up. They're so gorgeous. This is the most beautiful tree I've ever stitched. I haven't stitched many, but it's the most beautiful tree I've ever stitched. And then I'm starting to work on the bride. So I decided for this one, because I was bored with it, I put it down for a long time. And so my goal for this one is I've dedicated Sundays to this. So Sundays are Wendy's wedding WIP day. And I just dedicate Sundays to working on this. And I'm making some progress on it. So I'm happy with how that's coming along. The next one is Pokemon. So I got this cross stitch book at Joann Fabric, and I had my nieces and nephews pick a cross stitch they wanted me to do for them, and they all picked one, and so I'm doing them for their birthdays. And I hate how these are charted. I absolutely hate how these are charted. I think what they did was just take a picture of the characters and then overlay it on grid, and then that was the chart. That was it. That's like all the forethought they put into it. I don't know. That's just what it feels like to me. So I'm doing 4, and I finished 2, and I have 2 left to go. The first one, her birthday is in December, and she wanted Pikachu. So I have finished Pikachu. Again, it's DMC on 14 count Ada, and I don't like how it's charted because there are white spaces. You can see that there. And I could go in and do like a 1/4 stitch or a 3/4 stitch and fill in that white space, but she's gonna be 4 years old. She's not gonna care. So I'm moving on. Then the second one's birthday is January 3rd, and he wanted Eevee. So I finished Eevee. These stitches, these Pokemon stitches, I work on these at work when there's free time. And look, white space again, which I can fix if I want to. He's going to be 6 years old, so will he really care? Probably not. But, so I just work on these at work while I have time. Then the fourth one, his birthday is January 16th or January 19th. No, I think it's 16th. He wanted Lucario and Riolu. And today at work, I got this tail and arm section done and his ears here. And this, I picked up at a yard sale, this fabric here. I don't know what it is. I think it's a 14 count. It came in like a fresh eggs chicken kit or whatever, and I just cut the fabric up so I could use it for this. So it's a mystery fabric. I don't know what it is. And then the last one, whose birthday is in February, wanted Scorbunny. So he's got the least amount done on him. If you can see the white there, yeah. So hopefully I get these all done by the birthday. I'm moving right along, and I think I'm making good time. So those are really good. I started those in September. So progress is progress. I like that. Okay, and then we have a story for this next one. The next one is a virtuous woman. Now, when I first started cross-stitching again, I had a memory of my grandmother's house, and she had a cross-stitch on her laundry room wall. Coming, like if you were leaving her laundry room, it was right there, so every time you left, you saw it. And like the laundry room was kind of like our playroom a little bit when we got together for family gatherings. And so I had a memory of this cross stitch, and when I started cross stitching again, I started asking all my sisters if they remember this cross stitch. They're like, what are you talking about? I don't remember anything like that. And I asked all my cousins that I still talk to, and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. No. And I asked my mother, I'm like, Mom, do you remember this? She's like, oh yeah. I'm like, where is it? Who has it? She's like, I have no clue. I had no clue. Finally, one of my sisters remembered. She's like, it's a virtuous woman. And we looked it up, and that was it. That was it. It was a virtuous woman, Proverbs 31. This was on her wall. And so I went on Etsy, and I found the chart for sale, and it was shipped to me. And it was just pages from a magazine. Like, I think it was just Cross Stitch magazine or something. And they had taken the pages out of the magazine and sold that chart. And so what I did, I'm going to show you the chart because it's wrong. And I only noticed it after I started stitching. So what I did was I made a copy of those pages so that because it was in 3 parts, and one of them was back to back because it's a magazine. So I made a copy of it, and then I put it together and laminated it at work, and I started here in the middle. So I did this border line here, and then I did a couple of these words here, and then I went down and I started to do this, but it wasn't lining up. And I'm like, why isn't it lining up? It's because the chart is wrong. Everything is 10 by 10 except for this line down here. It's 11 deep by 10. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's off. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I was like, just work up. You'll come to that when you come to that, just work up. So then I went to Hobby Lobby and I gathered up all the DMC. There's like 50 plus colors for this. And I'm gathering up all the DMC and I come home and I start to stitch on her apron. This pink apron. And I grab the color, which is supposed to be 963, a pink. And I grab it and it's green. And I'm thinking to myself, why are the colors wrong? Because this chart is, well, this pattern is like 50 years old. I'm almost 40 and I remember it from my childhood. And if my grandma had stitched it before I was born, then it's nearly 50 years old and the colors probably changed. So I was so frustrated with this. I couldn't handle it. So I just scrapped it. I unpicked everything. I unpicked it all and I was like, I'm done. I'm not going to try it. But I used the fabric. I chose an 18 count Zweigart Ada. And you can see here where I unpicked. I started this way. So I unpicked it here. You can see where I unpicked. And now I'm going to use it for another project which I started. It's called Creation. And it's from Beloved Bible Story Samplers. And I'm going to do 3 of them on this fabric. I'm going to do Creation and I think 40 Days and 40 Nights and then maybe The Great Fish. But that's what it looks like there. And I can fit 3 of them on this fabric. So that's what I'm going to do. And there's my start. I just started on Sunday. So those are my WIPs, and that's my cross-stitch journey so far. So I think my plans moving forward for Flosstube is try to do 1 a month. I don't think I have enough material to do every 2 weeks. I don't stitch that much, but I do 1 thread a night on the characters, and I now am in November, so I'm going to be working on the November months as time sees fit. And then I also have Wendy's wedding WIP on Sundays, and then I also have to finish those Pikachus before their birthdays. So those are my stitching plans going forward. And also I watched, goodness, what was her name? Dang it, I forget her name, but she's gonna start a patriotic sampler and it's gonna be huge, and I'm debating starting that too. I don't know. We can talk about that later. Anyways, those are my stitching plans. This is me. This is my Flosstube. Thank you for watching, if you watched, and if you have any suggestions for any of my WIPs or stitching or anything like that, please let me know, because I don't know anybody else who cross stitches. I don't know anybody. I'm not a very social person. But yeah, thank you for stopping by, and I guess I'll see you in the next one. Bye.